Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. He'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. They'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
arrived. To demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand
First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact. Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome back to First Contact Radio. Today is the 18th of June, 2014. You could see there's a lot going on today, starting with our sun sign in Gemini for 3 more days. Our moon sign is in Pisces. And then we have a number of aspects. So we know, let's take a backtrack. We know that our sun sign in Gemini is an air sign, about communication. We know that our moon sign Pisces is all about water. We know that water and air work together in different ways. Just think about how water and air work together in life. They could work together very smoothly, or there could be a lot of wind that could blow the water around like a hurricane. So the words and the actions can stir up the emotions. You can think of it in that way. Alright, and then we look at our aspects, and we start up at the top there. We have the sign here. It's called the conjunction. It means that these are both in the same, basically the same general area here. They're conjunct or next to each other. So we have Pisces which is in we have Pisces is in Neptune, so new perspective on how we look at things with our emotions. Okay, we're in that area now. We passed through a sextile between Jupiter, expansion, and Venus. Expansion, our love, our imagination, our ideas. And a little bit later today, Pluto is going to have an aspect, a sextile aspect with Pisces. So Pluto is that deep transformation that takes place within us and around us. Pisces is the emotional world. So we deal with that emotional body, that emotional world, and transformation that comes. There's good opportunities for growth within that spiritual aspect of who and what we're about. Later this evening, Saturn, which is discipline, is in a trine with Pisces, so our emotions, and go through a phase of discipline, kind of gathering together, maybe learning a little bit more about them. And then again, one more of these conjunctions here, which is taking place between the moon sign Pisces and Chiron, the wounded healer. So we have a lot of different aspects going on. Some trines, some conjunctions, sextiles, no squares, so no major blockages or lessons, just some good harmonious, positive energies to deal with in these lessons today. So see how they play out in your life. Everybody's different. Just knowing where we're at makes a big difference. Numerology for today is the number 4. Here's how we arrived at that number. 6 for the month, 1-8 for the day, and then 2014. 6 plus 9 plus 7, 22. 2 plus 2 equals 4, so today it would be a 4-tone day. 4-tone day. Here are the characteristics of the 4s that you're very well familiar with. Putting things in order. You think of a table, 4 legs on a table, 4 legs on a chair. So having those 4 is really helpful for stability. and strength. 4 is about putting everything in order. This card represents 4, the Emperor. So we could see over here the Emperor. If we take a look at this right here, Emperor, Hebrew letter Hey, which means window, looking out, seeing what's going on. The Emperor is the one who oversees the activities that are taking place, and so the Emperor takes these activities, oversees what's happening, and is able to then put things in order, set them in order how they need to go. They need to go back to be reworked, or if they're good as is. So that's what the Emperor is about. Okay. Now, if we go over also to the highlights of the tarot, let's look a little bit deeper into this particular energy today. The Emperor. The fundamental meaning of the 4th key is reason. The key is called the Emperor, and the Emperor is the one who oversees and controls. This is the basic function of reason, for by it we supervise and control our daily activities. Vision is also attributed to this card, and it has a close connection with the faculty of reason, when we consider reason as insight or mental vision. Physical sight is also meant here, and the orange background is symbolic of the sun source of the light, by which means we're able to see. The mountain represents the fiery activity of Mars and Aries, which are the attributes of this key. Aries is also symbolized by the ram's heads on shoulder and throne, and Mars by the steel armor in which the Emperor is clad. The 12 points that ornament the helmet are astrological. The globe is conventional, symbol of dominance. The globe and the cross, like the circle and the Tau of the scepter, symbolize the masculine and feminine potencies of radiant mental energy or life force. The purple flaps over his armor hint at the rulership, since purple is the color of royalty. Okay. Now we are familiar already with our sun sign, which was Gemini. We went over that the other day. The moon sign is also Pisces, which we went over. Here's the moon sign again. Just a reminder of it's taking us into an area of the unknown, because you have water, emotions, the fluid of life we come out of. We evolve. First with the hard shells protecting us against all of the emotions and everything, and then we evolve animalistically to like the wild wolf, and then the tamed dog, domesticated, and then we move from what we know past these pillars of representing what we know, and once we cross through them, we're into the unknown. Therefore, faith is required, faith to understand that there's a bigger picture of what is taking place in the world. We see our moon sign, just like yesterday, going from the sphere or classroom of victory down to the kingdom. Our sun sign, Gemini, guys, from understanding down to beauty. And our numerology 4 is on the opposite side here, from wisdom, what we learn, back to the heart. Okay. This here, I want to bring this up. This is also at the same website, The Builders of the Atom. It's called the pattern on the Trestleboard. It's a very important phrase. It says the pattern on the Trestleboard is the most startling set of positive statements relating to the 10 divine emanations of the Kabbalistic tree of life. It is both an affirmation of reality and a meditational technique. It helps the spiritual aspirant attain a more conscious expression of this reality. It is a tenfold picture of the destiny of man in the evolutionary scheme as revealed by the secret wisdom. In learning how to live this divine pattern on the Trestleboard, man becomes the full manifestation of cosmic attributes. So here they are. This is truth about the self. 0. All the power that ever was or is here now. All the power that ever was or will be is here now. 1. I am a center of expression for the primal will to good which eternally creates and sustains the universe. 2. Through me its unfailing wisdom takes form in thought and word. 3. Filled with understanding of its perfect law, I am guided moment by moment along the path of liberation. 4. From the exhaustless riches of its limitless substance, I draw all things needful, both spiritual and material. 5. I recognize the manifestation of the undeviating justice in all the circumstances of my life. 6. In all things great and small, I see the beauty of the divine expression. 7. Living from that will, supported by its unfailing wisdom and understanding, mine is the victorious life. 8. I look forward with confidence to the perfect realization of the eternal splendor of the limitless light. 9. In thought and word and deed, I rest my life from day to day upon the sure foundation of eternal being. And 10. The kingdom of spirit is embodied in my flesh. I think this is a really good reminder for us to work with. I like what the pattern of the Trestleboard is all about because it really kind of keys us into understanding some real basic principles that aren't necessarily physical principles, but principles nonetheless that we need to be aware of. Moon phase is currently 60% of the way full, making its way back down to a new moon. If we look in the sky tonight, it says with Scorpius coming up into good evening view now, keep an eye on the doings of Delta Scorpii. This is the middle star in a row of 3 marking Scorpius' head. In July 2000, it has unexpectedly doubled in brightness. It has remained brighter than normal ever since, with fluctuations about the magnitude. Okay. Mayan Oracle today, 10-tone day. It's called the planetary tone. The monkey is the symbol, so today's the planetary monkey, guided by the storm. Star is the like-minded energy, dragons, challenge, hidden power, the dog, love, loyalty, our hearts. You can see where we're at in the wave spell here, all along the theme of wind, communication, spirit, and the phrases I perfect in order to play, producing illusion. I seal the process of magic with the planetary tone of manifestation. I am guided by the power of self-generation. Spaceweather.com, our solar wind is currently at 433.4 kilometers per second. Planetary K-index is in the quiet range between 2 and 3 at the moment. Chronal holes, nothing of significance. Few little spaces we can see. M-class flare possibilities now back down to 50. X-class is dropping down, be down to 10 within the next 24 to 48 hours. And geomagnetic storm activity, pretty low as well. Okay, Jewish calendar. Today is 20 Sivan. 20 Sivan is the name of the Jewish calendar. And the daily thought is, souls wait up in heaven for thousands of years, longing for the moment upon this earth to do another soul a favor. Angels burn with jealousy each time a human being turns himself around and creates beauty in this world. Heaven is nice, but on the best things, earth has exclusive rights. Alright, there's our morning thoughts. Get us started. Esoteric science to kind of show us what's going on. And UFO news is up next. Let's get to it.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
Alright, Dirk. Thank you very much for that introduction. First one, 3 ways to find alien bases on the moon in Zeeman crater. Well, here we have what looks to be a very specific object. Here's another one that has shape to it as an entrance point. Okay, and coordinates if you want to go check it out yourself. Google Earth map, moon mode. I forgot to say on Google Moon Map, double click on the global map, lower right corner, which shows the list, and then single click below it on Lunar Orbiter Mosaic. Then the base is visible. I've been gathering many requests for information about this one, certain base in Zeeman crater. Everyone is asking how to find it. I found it a long time ago. Not much info goes with the video, so I decided to try my best to explain 3 methods of finding it. 4 if you count using your iPhone, but that's kind of the same as iPad, so let's say 3. Okay. So here we go. So there it is. If Scott giving a good explanation of what's going on. Okay. And there's where we're seeing something in there. Okay, so check out the video. It's 10 minutes long. Scott does a great job explaining how to find this and what it is. Now we go over to Thailand, June 15th. These two videos were recorded this week in Thailand. They showed two black discs following one another. The UFOs are moving slowly, so they're probably scanning for something or just observing things below. The person who uploaded the video has only 6 videos on their account, and the sighting is the only one they have, which makes me think this is 100% real and a very cool sighting. So let's take a look at what we have here. First one, you already see the objects, 2 of them, one here and one here. In the second video, just pretty much same thing. Okay, so there's the 2 videos showing up in the sky in Thailand. Alright, another crop circle to report here. This one's a bit more intricate. We've seen this one here. This is the one from the 14th Essex Temple Farm in Essex, UK. Oh wait, this one is different. This one is different. I thought this was the same. Okay, that's an interesting looking one. So we got a cube with some sort of center point inside of it here. Looks like within that cube we certainly have the triangle. It goes 2, 3, 4, 5, a 6-sided square. I think that's where we have the cube coming in if we look at it 3-dimensionally. So this would looks like it's a point held within the center of this cube. So we have a circle inside the cube, and that cube is inside another circle. Very interesting. Then we go over here to this other crop circle. This was from yesterday in Dorset. Let me backtrack here. We get a good view of it. Alright, very interesting looking one. This one has a lot more involved. Very interesting. Very interesting. It looks sort of like, I don't know, one of those devices that's used for, what is it, a sextant that the sailors use when they're navigating. Also, some of the kind of reminds me a little bit of what the menorah. Is that what it is? The Jewish candle. I may be wrong on the name there, but this kind of reminds me of some of that as well. Interesting. Well, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Alright, if you have any ideas what they are, send me in a link. Let me know what you think. Okay, story dealing with John Lennon. Dark aliens controlled John Lennon's killer, Mark Chapman. Educating Humanity is not asking you to believe the story about John Lennon. We are simply saying here's a different point of view on John Lennon's death. John Lennon, murderer Mark Chapman, was under the control of aliens, determined to kill the Beatle musician to stop him spreading messages of peace. Extraterrestrial expert Mark C. Luckman has claimed. It says if the masses started to accept UFOs, it would profoundly affect their attitudes towards life, politics, everything. It would threaten the status quo. Whenever people come to realize that there are larger considerations than their own petty little lives, they are ripe to make radical changes on a personal level, which should eventually lead to a political revolution in society as a whole. John Lennon's murderer was under the control of dark aliens determined to eradicate his message of peace and love, it has been claimed. The late Beatles legend was assassinated by Mark Chapman outside the Dakota Building in New York City in 1980. With the deranged fam blaming the devil for his actions. Extraterrestrial expert Mark C. Luckman believes Lennon was at the center of a battle for different species of aliens which resulted in his death. Luckman, author of Alien Rock, the rock and roll extraterrestrial connection, and a forthcoming sequel, Rock Stars, Hollywood and Alien Contact, Celebrities' Inside Secrets, claims Lennon was regularly sent message from intergalactic beings to include in his music, with him acting as a vessel for them. Sometimes he was able to do this because his brain was wired, and at one point Lennon even had close contact of the third kind. The veteran UFO researcher exclusively told Bang Showbiz this is what enabled John Lennon to receive musical messages broadcast from the space, compose hit songs celebrating peace, love, and freedom. John was the ideal candidate for alien contact. Much later, he had 2 UFO encounters, one which has involved a meeting with 4 little gray aliens at the Dakota Apartments in New York, where he lived with Yoko Ono. Luckman claimed it was the messages of peace and love which led Chapman, who is still incarcerated in prison for shooting the musician, being targeted by rival aliens, determined to stop the Gimme Some Truth singer from spreading his messages of love. Luckman added, when Chapman blamed the devil for ordering him to kill Lennon, he may be indeed operating under the influence of negative entities who were upset with John's universal message of brotherhood and wanted to stop him dead in his tracks before he could even become more powerful. The circumstances that led to Lennon's death can easily be seen as a classic battle of light and dark forces, in this case a battle for the soul of rock and roll. When describing the songwriting process, Lennon himself claimed that he often felt like a hollow temple filled with many spirits, each one passing through him, each one inhabiting me for a little time and then leaving me to be replaced by another. While his widow Yoko Ono has previously stated she believes her deceased husband and his Beatles bandmates Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and the late George Harrison were musical mediums. She is quoted as saying, they were like mediums, they weren't conscious of everything that they were saying, but the music, was coming through them. Very interesting. This next article shows of a way to sniff out aliens. Researchers have developed a powerful new model to detect life on planets outside of the solar system more accurately than ever before. The new model, developed by researchers from the University of College London, focuses on methane, the simplest organic molecule widely acknowledged to be a sign of potential life. Researchers from UCL and the University of New South Wales have developed a new spectrum for hot methane, which can be used to detect the molecule in a temperature above the Earth up to 1220 degrees Celsius, something that was not possible before. To find out where remote planets orbiting the stars are made of, astronomers analyze the way in which the atmosphere absorbs starlight of different colors and compare it to a model or spectrum to identify different molecules. Currently, models of methane are incomplete, leading to a severe underdetermination of methane levels on planets, said Professor John Tennyson from UCL Department of Physics and Astronomy and the co-author of the study. We anticipate our new model will have a big impact on the future study of planets and cool stars external to our own solar system, potentially helping scientists identify signs of extraterrestrial life. The study, published in the Journal of PNAS, described how the researchers used some of the UK's most advanced supercomputers provided by the Distributed Research Utilizing Advanced Computing, or DIRAC project, to run the University of Cambridge to calculate nearly 10 billion spectroscopic lines, each with distinct color at which methane can absorb light. The new list of lines is 2,000 times bigger than any previous study, which means it can give more accurate information about the broader range of temperatures than was previously possible. This new model has been tested and verified by successfully reproducing in detail the way in which the methane in failed stars called brown stars absorbs light. Very interesting. And the last one here, well, this one is a video for you to watch. It's a video for you to watch. This is a good video here. It's called This Will Blow Your Mind, Anunnaki in the Antarctic. It is in Russian. It has subtitles to it, but it's only 29 minutes and 27 seconds long. But it talks about the expeditions that were taking place up in the Antarctic. The Germans were there, the Americans were there, what they discovered, and so on. I'm not going to blow the surprise by telling you what's in it. Just watch the video and you will find it equally as fascinating as I did. Alright, there you have it. That is our UFO news for today. I'm going to jump away. I'll be back.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls with peace. Spirit, send down your love, shine down your light, show us the way each and every day. Oh, 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 oh,
Here we go. Turn the microphone on and you can hear me. How about that? That was Great Spirit. You've heard it many times before, and you'll hear it many times more. That's one of my favorite songs. Okie dokie. We're going to continue on with the Book of Urantia. So, yesterday we were talking about Andon and Fontac, who part of her first human family. Just to refresh your mind, Andon is an Ebonon name which signifies first father-like creature, and Fontac signifies the first sun-like creature to exhibit human perfection. Okay, so we have Andon and Fontac, twins, males and females, and they bring life into the world. Talks about Andon's family. It was almost 2 years from the night of the twins' departure from home before the first child was born. So they had a child named Fontac, and he grew up. This one, he had the protective covering, though, which was different than Andon and Fontac. They had 19 children. We went down further yet. We talked about the whole clans of the Adonic clans. So they had black eyes and swarthy complexion, something of a cross between yellow and red. Okay, they talked about their tribe life and how they would fight for the safety of their mates and offsprings. How the females were affectionately devoted to their children, and so on. Okay, now we're going to get down to how these tribes were dispersed. The early Andon races did not penetrate very far into Asia, and they did not at first enter Africa. The geography of these times pointed them north, and further north these people journeyed until they were hindered by the slowly advancing ice of the third glacier. Before the expansive ice sheet reached France and the British Isles, the descendants of Andon and Fontac had pushed on westward over Europe and had established more than 1,000 separate settlements among the great rivers leading to the then warm waters of the North Sea. These Andonic tribes were very early river dwellers of France, and they lived along the river Somme for tens of thousands of years. The Somme is one of the rivers unchanged by the glaciers, running down to sea in those days much as it does today, and that explains why so much evidence of the Andonic descendants is found along the course of this river valley. The Aborigines of Urantia were not tree dwellers, though in emergencies they still betook themselves to the tree tops. They regularly dwelt under the shelter of overhanging with cliffs, with rivers in the hillside grottos, which afforded a good view of the approaches and sheltered them from the elements. They could thus enjoy the comfort of the fires without being too much inconvenienced by the smoke. They were not really cave dwellers either, though in subsequent times the later ice sheets came further south and drove the descendants to the caves. They preferred to camp near the edge of the forest and beside a stream. They very early became remarkably clever in distinguishing their partially sheltered abodes, and showed great skill in constructing stone sleeping chambers, dome-shaped stone huts into which they crawled at night. The entrance to such a hut was closed by a rolling stone in front of it. A large stone had been placed inside for the purpose before, and the roof stones were finally put in place. The Andonites were fearless and successful hunters, and with the exception of wild berries and certain fruits of the trees, lived exclusively on flesh. As Andon had invented the stone axe, so his descendants early discovered and made effective use of throwing stick and a harpoon. At last a tool creating mind was functioning in conjunction with the implement using hand, and these early humans became highly skillful in the fashioning of flint tools. They traveled far and wide in search of flint, much as present-day humans journey to the ends of the earth in quest of gold, platinum, and diamonds. In many ways, these Andon tribes manifested a degree of intelligence which their retrogressing descendants did not attain in 500,000 years, though they did again and again rediscover various methods of kindling fire. Now, Ongar, the first truth teacher. As the Andonic dispersion extended, the cultural and the spiritual states of the clans retrogressed for nearly 10,000 years until the day of the Ongar, who assumed the leadership of the tribes, brought peace among them, and for the first time led all of them in the worship of the breath giver to men and animals. Andon's philosophy had been most confused. He had barely escaped becoming a fire worshipper because of the great comfort derived from his ancestral discovery of fire. Reason, however, directed him from his own discovery to the sun as a superior and more awe-inspiring source of heat and light, but it was too remote, so he failed to become a sun worshipper. The Andonites early developed the fear of the elements, thunder, lightning, rain, snow, hail, and ice, but hunger was a constantly recurring urge from these early days, and since they largely subsided on animals, they eventually evolved a form of animal worship. To Andon, the larger food animals were symbols of creative might and sustaining power. From time to time, it became accustomed to designate various of these large animals to objects of worship. During the vogue of a particular animal, crude outlines of it would be drawn in the walls of the caves, and later on, as continued progress was made in the arts, such an animal god was engraved in the various ornaments. Very early, the Andonite people formed the habit of refraining from eating the flesh of the animal of tribal veneration. Presently, in order more suitably to impress the minds of their youth, they involved the ceremony of reverence which was carried out about the body of one of these venerated animals, and still later on the primitive performers developed into a more elaborate sacrificial ceremonies of their descendants, and this is the origin of sacrifice as part of the worship. The idea was elaborated by Moses in the Hebrew ritual, and was preserved in principle by the Apostle Paul as a doctrine of atonement for sin by the shedding of the blood. The food that was all-important thing in the lives of these primitive human beings is shown by the prayer taught by these simple folks, by Onagar, the great teacher, and his prayer was, O breath of life, give us this day our daily food, deliver us from the curse of the ice, save us from the forest enemies, and with mercy receive us into the great beyond. Onagar maintained the headquarters on the northern shores of this ancient Mediterranean in the region of the present Caspian Sea, at a settlement called Oban, a tarrying place from the westward turning of the traveling trail leading up northward from the Mesopotamian Southland. From Oban he sent out leaders to the remote settlements to spread his new doctrines of the deity and his concept of the hereafter, which he called the great beyond. These emissaries of Onagar were the first missionaries. They were also the first human beings to cook meat, the first regularly to use fire in the preparation for food. They cooked flesh in the ends of sticks and also on hot stones. Later on, they roasted large pieces in the fire, but their descendants almost entirely reverted to the use of raw flesh. Onagar was born 983,323 years ago, from AD 1934, and he lived to be 69 years of age. The record of the achievement of this mastermind and spiritual leader of the pre-planetary prince days is thrilling recital of the organization of the primitive peoples into a real society. He instituted an efficient tribal government, the like of all which was not attained by succeeding generations in many millenniums. Never again until the arrival of the planetary prince was there such a high spiritual civilization on earth. These simple people had a real, thorough primitive religion, but it was subsequently lost to their deteriorating descendants. Although both Andon and Fontac had received thought adjusters, and had many of their descendants, it was not until the days of Onagar that the adjusters and the guardian seraphim came to a great number to Urantia. This was indeed the golden age of primitive man. Andon and Fontac, the splendid founders of the human race, received recognition at the time of abdication of Urantia upon the arrival of the planetary prince, and in due time they emerged from the regime of the mansion worlds with citizenship status in Jerusalem. Although they have never been permitted to return to Urantia, they are cognizant of the history of the race they founded. They grieved over the Calistiga betrayal, sorrowed because of the Adamic failure, but rejoiced exceedingly when announcement was received that Michael had selected their world as the theater for his final bestowal. On Jerusalem, both Andon and Fontac were fused with their thought adjusters, as also were several of their children, including Sontad, but the majority of even their immediate descendants only achieved spirit fusion. Andon and Fontac, shortly after their arrival on Jerusalem, received permission from the system sovereign to return to their first mansion world to serve with the Morontia personalities who welcomed the pilgrims of time from Urantia to the heavenly spheres, and they have been assigned indefinitely to this service. They sought to send greetings from Urantia in connection with these revelations, but the request was widely denied them. And this is the recital of the most heroic and fascinating chapters in all the history of Urantia, the story of evolution, life, struggles, death, and eternal survival of the unique parents of all mankind. So there you have it, Andon and Fontac. So you haven't heard that story anyplace else except here in this book, which is pretty fascinating. Gives us a bit of an idea more about our history. Alright, that's the Urantia book for today. I want to backtrack to an article I bypassed. Archaeologists stunned to discover Britain A1's road is 10,000 years old. A team of archaeologists who were working alongside the A1, the longest road in Britain, were shocked to discover evidence of a Mesolithic settlement which suggested that route may have been in use for 10,000 years, according to a report in the Express. This means that the route predates previous estimates that claim that the ancient route in the same location was originally built by the Romans. The A1 was built nearly a century ago, which stretches 410 miles from London to Edinburgh. The earliest documented northern routes from the roads created by the Romans during the period from 43 to 410, which consisted of several itineraria recorded in the Andon itinerary. A combination of these were used by the Anglo-Saxons as the route from London to York, and together became known as Ermine Street, later known as the Old North Road. Archaeologists were carrying out excavations of a known Roman settlement along the road ahead of plans to upgrade the junctions from 51 to 56 to motorway status, when they discovered a number of flint tools that date back between 6 and 8,000 BC. They also found a small Mesolithic structure that resembled the type of shelter where they were making the first flint tools. The site near the Catterick in northern Yorkshire is believed to have been used by people traveling north and south as an overnight shelter similar to today's motorway service stations. Okay. It is fascinating to find one of these megalithic sites a further 8,000 years into the past behind the Romans, said archaeologist Steve Sherlock. This was a place that people knew of, a place they could return on many occasions to stay overnight during their travels. There was evidence of people using the route and moving through the area over periods of time. It is also adding to our knowledge of the early Mesolithic period of time we don't know very much about. Alright, so I just thought I'd bring that up. Find it interesting when new discoveries are made about our world. So much to find, so much to see, so much to learn and know. Alright, here's an article by In5D. Today's article is called How Time and Space Clues Point to Who We Are and Where We Are Going. It's from Brad Olson. Is it possible that some races have traveled back from the future in order to change the outcome of their physical evolution? If so, can we follow the clues to find out how our future will unfold, and how would the present affect the outcome? The concept of space-time and cosmology is a construct which combines space and time into a single abstract universe. Mathematically, it is a manifold consisting of events which are described by some type of coordinate system. Typically, the three spatial dimensions of length, width, and height, and the temporal dimension of time are required. Time is simply an arbitrary measurement of the motion of objects through space. For us on Earth, time is based on 365.25 days it takes for the planet to make a complete orbit around the Sun, and the 24 hours it takes the planet to complete a rotation is called a day. Besides the day of 24 hours, or 86,400 seconds. The word day can be used for several different spans of time based on the rotation of the Earth around its axis. Yet space is nonlinear. Space is determined by the point of view of an observer when looking at an object. The distance between the observer and the object being viewed is called space. Dimensions are independent components of a coordinate grid needed to locate a point in a certain defined space. Objects in space, or even masses of energy, do not necessarily move in a linear fashion. In this universe, objects tend to move randomly or in a curving or cylindrical pattern, or as determined by the agreed-upon rules in physics. Now, physicists have determined the existence of higher dimensions with hyperspace well grounded in scientific principles. Today's theoretical physicists have clearly defined hyperspace, introduced the existence of wormholes or tunnels between dimensions, parallel universes, and theoretically have postulated access to both the past and the future. Most of these physicists are searching for ways to access hyperspace by mechanical third-dimensional means. Stargates or wormholes are cosmic gateways that theoretically link regions of the universe millions of light years apart and allow nearly instantaneous communication or travel between these regions. History is not merely a linear record of events, as so many authors of Earth history books imply, because history is not a string that can be stretched out and marked like a measuring tool. Our concept of time needs to be examined. History is a subjective observation of the movement of objects through space, recorded from the point of view of a survivor rather than those who have perished in battle. For example, although time seems to run consecutively, events do not happen in an independent linear stream. Rather, all of these interactions are concurrent and simultaneous. In order to view the understood and understand the history of reality of the past, one must view all events as part of an interactive whole, the holographic perspective as described below. Time can also be sensed by a vibration which is uniform throughout the entire physical universe. Linear time is more accurately described as an intentional fabrication. The true nature of time is cyclical. Time is a different factor to measure as it depends on the subjective memory of the observer, and there has been no uniform record of events throughout the physical universe since the beginning. As on Earth, there are many different time measurement systems defined by various cultures, which uses cycles of motion and points of origin to establish age and duration. The paradox of space travel often references the example of someone traveling back in time and killing his or her grandfather. What would happen? How could this be possible? If the person's grandfather died, they would never have been born to kill him. What apparently happens in this case is that the timeline the person left continues as is with no changes except that the person no longer exists, thereby generating this new timeline. The person then forfeits his chance to return to his own timeline. When this person killed his grandfather, a new timeline starts, minus his grandfather, and he must then remain in this altered timeline. Fantastic as it sounds, one of the main reasons for the extraterrestrial biological entities, or EBEs, are now here is to attempt to alter our timelines, that is, our future. The reason for this is they have the ability to time travel in both directions. So they already know, or they know as a memory, what happened here in our future. In Timeline 2, there is a catastrophic arising in the near future that drastically reduces the population of the Earth and splits humans into two population groups. These two populations will develop in the classic stages of evolution, where a single species becomes isolated from another, and the two adapt to different environments. What we know of as Homo sapiens today might develop into two distinctly different species over many thousands of years after a possible catastrophe which will send many people underground while some people survive on the surface. If we do have one of these catastrophes, it would mean that the benevolent ETs did not succeed in altering the timeline. Yet if it does not occur, we can say that either information was false, which skeptics will claim without delay, or we can say that they did succeed in a covert program of altering the timelines and averted a major catastrophe. According to the doctrines of the convergent timelines, a certain species of greys evolved from humans in our future. In other words, the greys come from our future and they have traveled backwards to our past, which is now our current present. This would explain why the greys and the tall whites have been allowed to operate for decades at Area 51 and other secure bases around the world. It would also suggest that there is no such thing as evil aliens, just a priority of service to self, rather than a service to others. It says apparently whatever genetic traits, features the future EBEs inherited, they are suffering from some kind of defective gene that has caused natural degeneration of their system or a peripheral neuropathy. Some human scientists in Area 51 have worked alongside the Orion ETs they called a J-Rod. They were given the task of looking into the possibility of genetic reverse engineering to repair the tall Greys' degenerative system. The Greys claim that they are an altered form of us, a new species that branched off from the Homo sapiens beginning as manufactured hybrids. They are the same as the programmable life forms which are currently being developed at several secret underground bases right now on Earth. These Greys are entities that will continue to evolve in our future. According to the doctrine of the convergent timelines, they come from many thousands of years in our future and have traveled backwards to our past. In other words, our current present. Eventually, the two Homo sapiens subspecies from the future moved to the planet Zeta Reticuli 1 and 2, Gliese 876c, and Epsilon Orionis. The tall whites were just another branch that has evolved from Homo sapiens, but they follow more of a spiritual evolutionary path. It is as if these were all threads woven, as we would think of a braid with multiple pieces of hair, each being a timeline. More significant to our near future on Earth is the convergence of both timelines 1 and 2. Okay, we have a lot to the article here, a lot more. Here we show the ideas of general relativity. Here it says timeline 1, with the future scenario, we work with our differences, avert disaster, and evolve quickly as an advanced species. Timeline 2, we have a catastrophe where more than half the humans on Earth will perish. Those who live will seek out a harsh living on the mostly destroyed surface, while other survivors will exist for many generations underground. The Nordic blondes and the Greys have independently decided that they were going to attempt to change their history because they learned how to travel backwards in time in some point from our distant past. Again, we're talking about the fantastic subject of time travel and how it can manipulate our reality. Of course, it is very complicated. A stargate can either be a natural subspace wormhole or it can be artificially created. A stargate is a portal device that allows practical rapid travel between two distant locations in the universe, as well as time travel. A lot of scientists have toyed with these ideas and the many paradoxes it presents. There are stories of those that have found timelines somehow displaced in the past and are dropped into the future. This has been something never explored by classical scientists, because essentially we are speaking about practical applications of a theory of relativity still thought to be impossible in or far into the future, traveling faster than light through wormhole stargates and using a time machine or holographic history device which can access the timeline of future and past events. By incarnating into human bodies, EBEs may have traveled from the future to have more influence upon which timeline humanity chooses. Depending on how humanity creates the present, based on the choices they now make, the human body may be a super machine, or maybe end up something entirely different. Awakening to this and making choices based on who you are and what you are here to do in this lifetime will determine the future of humanity as a species. Alright, so very good article. Very good article talking about possibilities of what could occur. I mean, if you've been studying the phenomena of UFOs for any period of time, you've obviously heard this theory and the story about the aliens coming back in their past, which is our past or our current, in order to be able to fix a situation which they saw. And there seems to be some truth to this, because this is a story that's been out there in the UFO community for some time. Alright, that brings us to our message for today, which comes to us from Jesus. Here we go.
Jesus, your presence on earth at this time is not fortuitous, accidental, or just plain chance.
June 18, 2014, by John Smallman.
You are in the final phases of your awakening process. As all the channels keep telling you, your awakening is imminent. Let your deep inner faith shine through and intensify your will to wake up. God wants it to happen, here in the spiritual realms, so do we, and so most certainly do all of you, and as we keep telling you, it is inevitable, unavoidable, and divinely decreed. Some of you are having difficulty keeping your light clear and undimmed as you get caught up in compassionate anxiety, even fear, for all who are presently suffering grievously in the many zones of conflict and abject poverty around the world. That is why you must keep your light burning brightly. It is the brightness of your collective light that is bringing in the essential changes in attitudes and behaviors that will dissolve within all that is in any way unloving. Your presence on earth at this time is not fortuitous, accidental, or just plain chance. It is as a direct result of your holy will aligning with God's to bring your light to every corner of earth to scatter and dispel the dark that has been occluding the light for so long. Look to the alternate and independent media channels to find reports of the increasing brightness of the light among humanity that is spreading, inspiring, and uplifting those who had nearly lost hope. The light of God's eternal and infinite love for you all can no longer be dimmed or hidden, there just is not enough darkness available, and what remains is shrinking daily. This is an issue on which the mainstream media constantly misleads you, as it focuses always on doom and gloom. Engage daily with your own extremely powerful light, and look for and see the same light shining in others regardless of any ego masks they may be still using to shield themselves from the light of love that envelopes them and all of humanity. There is no possibility of escape from it, and all are in the process of learning this as they see that all that the dark would keep hidden is being bathed in the brilliance of its ever-present illumination. The dark has nowhere to hide as the light bursts through every chink, crack, and cleft in the fortress it is fruitlessly attempting to repair and rebuild as it crumbles irretrievably away. So, to repeat, you are all eternal and invincible beings of light. You always have been and you always will be because that is how you were created, to live in eternal joy as inseparable aspects of the oneness that is all that is, God, the source of all that now exists and will forever exist. Acknowledge the light within you. It is eternally present there awaiting your acknowledgement and acceptance through your individual free will choice. When you chose to engage in the game of separation, you chose to veil your light to make the game seem more enthralling, more real. When you choose once more to acknowledge your brilliant inner light, your personal sense of worth, of value, of your right to exist will be enormously enhanced and you will begin to recognize yourselves once more as you truly are, namely inseparable and infinitely loved aspects of God, fully entitled by Him to an eternal and joy-filled life. All your earthly cultures and religions have been fabricated by those who chose to be members of an elite among you, so that they could establish a hierarchy that would answer to them and which they could then use to control you by convincing you that you were valueless and inadequate beings whose duty was to serve them. And you still have those controlled hierarchies established by the elite, the police, the military, the politicians, the religions, the corporations, where people are still trained to walk on or intimidate those below them in the hierarchy in order to obtain their unquestioning obedience, and at the same time to fawn admiringly on those above them. But their days are numbered. By acknowledging your light, and by allowing it to shine forth through you as you behave and intend to behave lovingly at all times and in every situation, it will dispel the darkness in which you have been enveloped for eons. Enlightenment, your awakening, will not be prevented because it is impossible to make the unreal real, let alone have it last interminably to hide from you your true nature. The nightmare is now ending, as always divinely intended, because you have at last chosen to release yourselves from it and once more experience your true and divine nature in eternal bliss with God. Make a point of acknowledging the light in everyone with whom you interact in any way at all by being open, trusting, accepting, compassionate, and, of course, loving. This does not mean telling people this, or proselytizing, it just means that you quietly and determinedly be yourself, your true divine and loving self, and allow the intense energy of that state to flow freely through you and out into your immediate environment. As you become more accustomed to living like this, your immediate environment will expand and so will the effect you have upon it. This is how the dark is being dispelled, and it is all of you who are dispelling it. Light is all that exists. The dark is illusory, conceived of and then envisaged into being to add interest, fear, excitement, and an apparent reality to the illusion that you built to experience the thrill of separation from God, whom you momentarily thought was unnecessary, a being superior to you from whom you wanted to free yourselves. Of course it could not work because there is only the one, and because of his eternal love for you, and because he sees your pain and suffering, he constantly calls lovingly to you to assist in your inevitable awakening. Listen to his call to you, that quiet inner voice that reminds you that life should be a far more exhilarating and enjoyable experience than the one you are currently undergoing. Respond enthusiastically to it, then feel his constant love for you, and intend to share it indiscriminately with all of humankind, regardless of any evil it appears to you that any one of them or any group of them may have caused or still be instigating, for this simple reason: you are all eternally one in God. Your loving brother, Jesus.
Alright, very, very nice message today from Jesus. Always good to hear what Jesus has to say. Alright, let's get to our meditation. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And exhale. Take another deep breath. And exhale again. Now just imagine yourself walking along, moving along the path of life as we do each and every day. And as you move along, imagine the world all around you as being dark. And you walk along this path having faith that you are moving in the right direction. And you can feel the darkness along this path, and you understand that this darkness is just an illusion. And you understand that this darkness is held in place by the doubts and the fears of humanity. And so you imagine love and faith and positivity. And as you think of these qualities, you find that the light inside you shines brighter and brighter, till eventually your whole body begins to glow. And this light shines past your body till it illuminates the whole area all around you. So that which was dark is now light. And as you continue to walk along, sharing your light, others are inspired to shine the light within them. And pretty soon, those who used to have doubts and fears are now filled with faith and hope and love, because they understand that they are no longer in darkness, but now in the light. They understand that the darkness was just an illusion, a way to keep them from seeing what is real. But now that they have, and we have, seen and experienced the light, we know that this is available for all of us at each and every moment. So just imagine shining that light bright, and others following that example shine their light bright, and so on and so on and so on. And as you go forth in the world today, let that be enough just to shine bright the light that you have within you, that others might shine brightly the light within them as well. Contemplate the words of this affirmation. My ability to conquer my challenges is limitless. My potential to succeed is infinite. Just allow those words, the understanding of our unlimited success, available to us at each and every moment. And the brighter your light shines, the more you realize the success available to all of us comes from within, not without. And as we shine the light, as we shine bright who we are, we bring necessary energies of positivity to the earth. So imagine yourself walking out there today, going through life, just sending out light. Just sending out light. Just imagining yourself like a light bulb shining bright. You don't have to say anything, do anything special, just imagine it. And just notice how others perceive the light you're shining off without you saying a word. So let the subconscious mind continue on that journey, and let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment, happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale, and open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That's our show for today. Thank you very much for being here. I'll be back tomorrow. More news, more information, and who knows what else. That's it. Talk to you soon. Have an awesome day. Peace. I'm out of here.